Our teams explained that whilst the way councils are structured will change, the things people value about the New Forest district, our communities, our environment and our sense of place remain at the heart of everything we do. To continue with this, we're continuing to deliver our services at the highest standard. More applications were recently opened for shared ownership properties. We've completed coastal maintenance work at Milford-on-Sea. We've introduced anti-littering signage on the A35 to protect our special environment, hosted community days with our tenants, and we're continuing to perform incredibly highly in housing compliance. Looking ahead, our priority remains the same: serving residents, supporting communities, and protecting the unique character of the New Forest. Thank you. Item 2, minutes. Do Cabinet members agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of July 2026 as a correct record?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Do Cabinet members have any declarations of any pecuniary or any other interest in respect of the business of this meeting?
None.
Thank you. Item 4, public participation. We have representatives with us today from Ringwood Town Council to speak on item 6 on the agenda, the progress of existing strategic community infrastructure projects. Ringwood Town Councillor Janet Giorgio will be invited to speak at the start of that item. Item 5, local plan, programme review and future approach. Can I introduce Councillor Derek Tipp to lead us with this report?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, this is an important report. This report asks us to agree a revised approach to the preparation of the district's new local plan. Members will be aware that the Council has invested considerable time and resources in progressing the review, including evidence gathering, site assessments and public consultation, with around 1,000 responses received through the recent regulation consultation process. Importantly, that work is still needed. The evidence gathered will continue to be required to support the preparation of a future local plan, and the views received through consultation will provide valuable insight in shaping the next stage of the process. However, since this work commenced, the planning landscape has changed significantly. National planning reforms, changes to housing requirements, the introduction of a new plan-making system and involving evidence requirements mean that the basis upon which we started this review is no longer the basis on which we would be expected to complete it. The report therefore concludes that continuing with the current programme would carry significant risks, including the potential for delay, uncertainty, and the need to revisit key elements of the plan-making process. Instead, it recommends that we move forward under the government's new planning framework, giving us the best opportunity to produce a sound, robust, and deliverable local plan for the district. This recommendation is not driven by a lack of progress or commitment by the Council. Rather, it reflects the reality that the planning system has changed around us, and we must adapt our approach accordingly to secure the best outcome for our communities. I therefore ask Cabinet colleagues to support the recommendations before us today and recommend them for approval by full Council. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Can I take us to Dean Brunton, Service Manager, Planning, Policy, Infrastructure and Delivery? Dean, do you want to add anything?
Thank you, Chair. I think the only thing I would like to add is that just to thank everyone who has taken the time to engage with the local plan process to date. All of those contributions will definitely help shape the next stage of plan making. And it was also to reinforce that should we move to the new planning system, our adopted local plan remains in force until that new plan is adopted, and we'll continue to support towns and parishes and the preparation of their neighbourhood plans as well going forward over the next couple of years. So, thank you.
Thank you. Cabinet, do you have any comments or questions on item 5? No? Okay, I will go out to the floor. Councillor Steve Clark.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I fully support the recommendations on this report, as having chaired the Task and Finish group. And I'd like to start by thanking the officers for the tremendous amount of work that's already been done, and just reiterate that that work will not be lost. It gets carried forward, as you can see from the many appendices that are attached to this report. I think it makes absolute sense to pause and move forward to a more combined approach, especially as we approach LGR. I probably won't get this fulfilled, but I hope that we'll get some thought as to the unrealistic allocations that we're receiving. I mean, one of the reasons we need to take this approach is that we cannot achieve the figures that government gives us. In fact, we fall far short of that, and therefore we'd likely fail if we continued with this report. But hopefully a coming together of the authorities that will form the new council will perhaps give us a bigger voice, because we are being presented with unrealistic targets for housing, and that is also not listening to the will of the people of the New Forest. By taking this step, we are at least taking the opportunity to listen to the people in the various communities across the New Forest who say that we cannot provide levels of housing that we're being told to provide. Whether this government will listen to us is another thing, but it is absolutely essential that we let our communities know that we are listening to them. We do understand their concerns about unrealistic housing targets in the New Forest, but also across the southern half of the country in general. And we need to rebalance where housing goes across the country. We can't argue with the fact that we need housing and we need affordable housing, but we need to make sure that we do not impinge on areas such as the New Forest, which have got many areas of outstanding beauty. In fact, probably the whole of the New Forest is an area of outstanding beauty. But if we look across to Mid-Hampshire, of course, on that also contains a national park, they will have similar problems. Our neighbours at BCP have similar problems, and we're almost at the stage where I think the weight of housing will tip us into the Solent. So I think this is the right thing to do, and we need to pause. Hopefully then, with a larger voice, we can point out to government that we need sensible levels of housing that meet need, and that needs to be more proportionally distributed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Can I take us now to Sean Cullen?
The success of this pivot relies heavily on sub-regional coordination ahead of the new Mid-Hampshire and South West Hampshire unitary authorities. However, the report explicitly warns that there's no guarantee neighbouring councils will progress at the same pace or direction. As political leaders, how will you ensure NFDC's interests aren't sidelined if this joint approach breaks down?
Well, we can't ever give a 100% assurance. We can only say that we believe this is the best way forward and most likely to give the residents a clear voice.
Also, I am in conversations with all the leaders on both sides of what will be the new unitary discussing this, particularly East Hants, who asked us to put a letter to government. So we are talking. We know it's there. Believe me.
Thank you.
I now take you to Caroline Rackham, please.
Thank you. Yes, I'd also like to thank officers, actually, because this has been such a hard journey anyway, with these housing targets to try and fit in. We've got backup grazing is also an issue. So where you put the houses, you take away the backup grazing. And it's such a difficult situation, particularly for the water side, I think. Obviously, it's a difficult situation right across the forest, to be fair. But the water side is now in a very vulnerable position because we're splitting from the forest and going in with Southampton, and potentially we do actually have such an issue because we're running out of space along the water side, and yet we're still seen as rural by those other councils. So I do feel we're very, very vulnerable at this stage. So I'm really pleased to see that officers at least have managed to write up the work that's been done with some suggestion as to a way that we can move forward. But I do feel that we are in a very vulnerable position because this new local plan that we have to do will take longer than joining the unitaries. So, yeah, I just want really to make the point that we're in such a vulnerable position now. Thank you.
Fully aware of that, Caroline, and the split as well. You know we didn't want this. Can I go to Christine Ward, please?
Thank you. Firstly, I want to endorse everything that Councillor Steve Clark has said. Can't add a lot to that. And again, to thank the officers and the councillors that worked on this local plan. But we have to keep in mind the upset and the anxiety caused to residents in our small villages and small towns by this large-scale need for development. But is there a need for large-scale development? Nobody's denying that we need the housing, but we need smaller community developments that are there for the local people, for the young people that can't afford to buy at the moment. These are the people that we need to be supporting. And I think by slowing the whole progress down, we can rethink the situation along with our new partners in the new unitary. So definitely I support this, and it is the way forward. But again, thank you all for all the work you've done.
Thank you, Christine. Well said. Right, can anybody else on the floor? No? Okay. Can I take you to the recommendations on page 5 and 6? Cabinet, do you agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. Right, item 6, progress of existing strategic community infrastructure projects. I would like to invite Councillor Giorgio as a representative of Ringwood Town Council. You now have 3 minutes to speak on this item. Thank you.
Chair, members of the Cabinet, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'm here on behalf of Ringwood Town Council to ask for your support in taking the Ringwood Marketplace project forward. This year we celebrated the 800th anniversary of Ringwood's Royal Market Charter. It was a proud milestone for our town and a reminder of the generations who invested in Ringwood before us. Our responsibility now is to ensure the future generations can celebrate the 900th anniversary in a marketplace that is thriving, attractive and fit for the future. For the last 7 years, I have been involved in developing this vision. Throughout that time, the Town Council has worked closely with local businesses, with NFDC's Economic Development team. One thing has become increasingly clear. The challenges facing our town centre are growing, not shrinking. Businesses have shown remarkable resilience, but resilience alone is not enough. They need confidence that Ringwood has a future, and they need to see progress. That is why the Town Council has been fully involved throughout the development of this project, and why we strongly support the conclusions of the business case. It recognises the marketplace has the heart of Ringwood, vital to our economy, our heritage, our visitor offer and our community. As a Town Council, we are united in our belief that the long-term prosperity of Ringwood depends on this investment. We fully appreciate the financial pressures facing the Council. We're not asking you to ignore those realities. Instead, we're asking you to support the practical solutions set out in the business case. If full funding is not currently available, the scheme can be developed to enable phased delivery. That allows progress to continue, provides greater cost certainty, and ensures Ringwood has a well-developed scheme ready to attract external funding when opportunities arise. Today's decision is therefore not simply about spending money. It's about whether Ringwood continues to move forward or loses the momentum built over the last 7 years. Once momentum is lost, it's difficult to regain. We have set out the recommendations we're asking you to support in our written submission, and I have copies available if required. In closing, I simply ask you to help us keep this project moving forward. This is an investment in Ringwood's future, and I hope you will give our businesses, our residents and future generations the confidence that this council remains committed to that future. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. I will now go to Derek Tipp, portfolio holder. Will you lead us on this item, please?
Thank you, Leader. This report updates Cabinet on the progress made in developing the Strategic Community Infrastructure Levy Programme, SIL for short, since the framework was approved in 2024. A considerable amount of work has been undertaken to develop these projects through feasibility studies, design work, and stakeholder engagement. As a result, 4 projects are now considered sufficiently advanced to move forward to public consultation and, subject to the outcome of that consultation, detailed design and delivery. These are Bath Road Recreation Ground in Lymington, Totton Civic Square, the Totton Brokenford Lane Link, and the Forestry England Multi-User Trails programme. These schemes will improve public spaces, recreation opportunities, active travel connections and visitor experiences, while supporting local communities and economies across the district. Turning to Ringwood Marketplace, I recognise the strong support that Ringwood Town Council and local stakeholders have shown for this project. And I agree that it has the potential to make an important contribution to the future of the town centre. However, it is fundamentally different from the other projects before us today. Its scale, complexity and cost mean that it requires further consideration of delivery options and funding opportunities before we can responsibly commit additional strategic SIL funding. Today's recommendation is not about stepping away from the project, but about ensuring we take the time to develop the right pathway to delivery. For Milford-on-Sea, it is proposed that the wider regeneration project becomes a longer-term aspiration, while the existing flood defence works continue as planned. Overall, this is a positive progress report which demonstrates how Strategic SIL is being translated into a programme of tangible infrastructure investment, and I am pleased to recommend the report to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Tipp. Let's go to Dean Brunton. Do you have any further comments?
Only to note that, just to really kind of reinforce that this paper is obviously focusing on those that were originally approved back in October 2024 and not kind of wider SIL allocations, which obviously we're discussing with a future report to come at a future date. Other than that, nothing.
Any members from the floor? Whoa, hang on. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten to do Cabinet first. Jeremy.
Thank you, Leader. Whilst I support all the projects that are put forward on here, I'm particularly, and you won't be surprised about this, going to speak on the Ringwood project. Chairman, I have fought passionately for Ringwood my entire life. I still believe it is, well, I know it to be the best town in the forest, if not the country, regardless of the delusions that the New Milton people may hold, and the Totton people. They are mistaken, obviously. I would do anything to support and push forward progress for the town and to deliver what I believe is right for it. At the moment, given the size and scale of the project that has arisen, I believe that the Cabinet are taking the responsible and right route. As has been said, this is not a closing down of that project. It's more a refocusing and reviewing of it to take it forward in a sensible way that can be delivered. It's simply, when we started looking at it, a simple project became incredibly complex, very large, very difficult to deliver, and simply outside the scope of the budget that was originally put together. I think it is right that we should just take stock on this. We should look at how we can possibly deliver it. But I will not, whilst I'm still on this council, let you forget Ringwood. Thank you.
That doesn't surprise me. Any other cabinet member wish to speak? Councillor Jeff Blunden.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I just wanted to pick up on the Milford scheme, and I fully understand there is a need for this project to ensure it has the proper public engagement, and the benefits of that scheme as we go forward are correct. It is complex, but it is important that the necessary work is done to produce a scheme which will last in time. I'm delighted, though, that the flood defence works will continue in advance of that. So I'm particularly pleased on that. So thank you.
Thank you. Right, firstly, I'm going to go to Councillor John Haywood, who is the local district councillor for the area. John.
Thank you,
He's
Leader.
not chairman. He's north and I'm south.
I was just about to say, in fact, my ward starts slightly north of the marketplace, but it is the same town, and everybody looks at the town centre. So it is, of course, a very, very important facility for residents in my ward. I'd like to open up just to say that I was honoured to be chair of the Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group, and this was an absolute core work stream within that group. And I'd just like to acknowledge the effort that a lot of volunteers put in, but in particular Councillor Giorgio put a huge amount of effort into developing this. And what we see, wherever this goes today, what we see in front of us is the fruition of all that work. So thank you. I think we've all been surprised by these numbers increasing. I'm an engineer. I know how budgets can increase on these things. It is just one of these things. I also see the amount of contingency that is built into this. And again, as an engineer, I understand why that contingency is built in and why at the start of projects, the start of programs, that contingency is large. To me, there will be opportunities through this, hopefully, to understand more about how the risk is coming into this project and how that is showing up in contingency, and maybe possibly how those numbers will reduce given time. So I fully encourage that we start on this. I'm hearing that we are going to start on this. And that we're going to look at some of these issues as we move on. So the only thing that I want to do off the back of that is to encourage us to go for the most expansive way forward that we can, given the constraints that we have. And then maybe when we understand some of these numbers more, we might be able to go a little bit further. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I now take us to Caroline Rackham, please?
Thank you. I'd like to speak on the two Totton projects. So the Brokenford Lane link, that's absolutely excellent. It will make that stretch of road an awful lot safer, which means it's a lot easier for pedestrians to get from one place to another around the town. Perfect, really good. The Civic Square, I've mentioned this to officers before. We do have a couple of design issues, which I hope will get sorted out. We have a bespoke seating design for the town, and it would be really good to use that. And we've got a sculpture that we'd like to install in the area. But our big issue really is the maintenance, and I understand it's on the way for that to get sorted out, but I think it's unrealistic to think that the town council could take maintenance of this project forward without help from a larger local authority into the future. So just need to point that out. But, you know, wholeheartedly support the Brokenford Lane link. I think is a really excellent project and will make life a lot easier for a lot of residents locally. Thank you.
I was pleased to see that one in there as well from a safety perspective. I would now like to go to Councillor Christine Ward.
Thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of Milford-on-Sea, being the local councillor there, and I have to say it's hugely disappointing, this decision. Having engaged with officers and consultants over the last year to come forward with a plan, we decided on a 3-phase scheme, and it should have been started at the end of this year. So as I say, I'm really disappointed that it's being pushed backwards. It's absolutely calling out for redesign. I've spoken to people in Milford that come there just for a day visit on a bus or a car because they like the small seaside resort. They don't want to go to the big ones like Bournemouth. They like Milford with the village green. And they come there because it's their favourite place in the whole of Hampshire. And I think that it's very disappointing that we're not going to go ahead immediately with this project. I understand that a lot of money's been spent on sea defences, and that's really important, and that must carry on. But Milford, from Hordle Cliffs down to the Spit, has been battered and battered by storms year after year, and it's caused a lot of damage, and that's why we need the sea defences. But I also think that they need us to spend this money. They deserve it after all they've been through with all the storms. So I'm really disappointed that it's not going ahead as soon as we thought it would. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'd now like to take us to Philip Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. Well, congratulations to the 4 areas that that are moving forward on this one, and this is really important work. Obviously, it's not in my area at all, but I do appreciate the benefit that is going to be afforded those areas, and it's extremely disappointing to hear that 2 really important schemes are slowing down on this one. We have to remember that some of these projects started back in 2014, so we're not talking about things that have been relatively recent. I know that the wheels of local government grind very slowly, but I think, you know, these have been, some of these schemes at least, have been going on for a number of years. So I hope that we can make progress on those 2 schemes that have been subject to delays, because I think to not make progress in time for the LGR thing will be really disappointing for those communities. And, you know, it is part of what we should be about as a district council, is improving the environment for our residents. So they're all important. Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry, I think I forgot to come to you, Dean, for if you have any further comments.
Steve Clark.
Only to kind of cover those kind of recommendations that this was specifically for these ones, and just to kind of note that there are delegations after this report to the strategic director and in conjunction with the portfolio holder to agree those costs as part of those recommendations for that detailed design work.
Thank you. Right, I've got 2 more speakers. I've got Steve Clark.
Thank you, Leader. Just to, as Councillor Heron pointed out, Ringwood exists in the New Forest, but 27,000 people actually live in New Bilton, the largest, other than Tottenham, centre of population. So I'd just like to hope that in the coming phases that New Milton is not forgotten, and that we bring forward the projects from New Milton.
I sense a population war about to start. Can I go to Councillor Steve Rippon-Swain, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I really just would add to Councillor Heron's comments. It's a big place, obviously, is Ringwood. One of the fears that I have is that with LGR going on, the amount of money that's going to be needed to do the job properly in Ringwood needs to be allocated sooner rather than later. Otherwise, if we get tripped up by LGR and a different authority has control, we might not see the product at the end of it. So my word is I endorse everything that Jeremy said, obviously, but we need to make sure that we progress to the point of commitment to financial obligations with this scheme in Ringwood to ensure that it will happen, come what may with LGR. Thank you.
I'll keep those comments in mind. Right, can I now take Cabinet to the recommendations on pages 460 to 461? Cabinet, do you agree?
Agree.
Thank you. Item 7, Housing Landlord Tenancy Management Strategy and the Supplemental Agenda. I'd like to go to Councillor Steve Davis, please.
Thank you, Chair. As you'd expect, I'm very pleased to present this strategy as it strengthens our readiness for consumer regulations, improves how the council listens and learns from tenants, and supports staff to continue improving a high-quality neighbourhood and tenancy management. This strategy brings together key landlord functions within a single coherent framework of priorities, and in light of regulatory changes, includes strengthened consumer regulation and requirements for an impending inspection. In fact, we can confirm that the visit from the regulator will be occurring in early October. The document, which is now published in the new graphic form, as you see now attached, highlights the core service drivers that support sustained tenancies with improved learning from complaints and compliments, and especially what works well for our tenants. This policy sets New Forest District Council commitments to good quality homes, both now and in the future new authorities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'd like now to go to Kirsty Farmer, Service Manager, Housing Resident Services. Kirsty.
Thank you, Leader. I'd just like to add to what Steve's already said, that the strategy is built around 3 key priorities. These are knowing the tenants and their needs. That will enable us to strengthen insight, engagement and inclusive services. Knowing our homes and communities, so improving data, neighbourhood visibility and proactive management, and enabling our staff, so ensuring staff have the tools, skills and support to deliver high quality compliant services. A strong feature of the strategy is that it is being shaped by tenant feedback through engagement events, complaint learning and also ongoing insight. This ensures the priorities reflect real lived experience with a clear focus on listening, learning and continuous improvement. Improving tenant experience is a core aim of the strategy. This includes making services easier to access, more responsive and more tailored to individual needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsty. Right, do any members of Cabinet have any questions or want to make a comment? No, I'm going to take it to the floor. I've got Councillor Steve Clark.
Thank you. The Housing Communities Overview Scrutiny Panel had the opportunity to scrutinise this strategy at one of its meetings, and were able to ask a number of questions which focus on tenant feedback. And this is and how that has shaped the strategy, how its impact will be evidenced. And this ensures staff visibility on estates and demonstrating the you said we did approach, which I think is really important, that it highlights that we listen to our tenants. And in fact, we demonstrate that by the fact that we have actually co-opted a tenant onto the panel who makes valuable input to our panel and brings the tenant's perspective to that meeting, and also sometimes it's quite challenging for us, which is a good thing. I was trying to find the ideal expression, but it is a good thing. Officers have provided assurance that tenant engagements directly inform this strategy. And I think you mentioned at the beginning of the day, the community engagement days that we participated in, and you and I, as well as the portfolio holder, were at the most recent one. And it's good to see us interacting with tenants on those days, listening to their problems, and in my case, having to hold a snake. But I understand that the portfolio holder has previously held the snake, so it seems to be your turn next, Leader. No. Anyway, our strategy, I am confident, will remain central to service delivery and future improvement. And the panel was satisfied that the strategy reinforces our commitment as a council to providing high quality, responsive housing services, which creates a strong foundation for the 2 successor authorities, because great concern is being voiced about how we move forward as a housing authority to through the changes in local government reorganisation. So I'm pleased that the scrutiny was able to contribute to this report, and the co-opted tenant demonstrates that tenant voices are heard and our levels of governance provides assurance of our housing policies, which will, I hope, continue well into the future. Thank you, Chairman.
I do enjoy the tenant days, and it's actually nice to be remembered by some of our long-standing tenants. Yay!
Yes, yes, but I'm still disappointed about the snake.
Can I
Maybe the dragon would be more for you.
go to Councillor Philip Dowd, please?
Thank you. I'll start off with credit where credit's due. I think this again reinforces an area where we can look to other councils to offer a model of good practice. There's a lot of really very positive stuff in the report and the recommendations. I'm going to focus on priority 2, B and C though, which is partnership working, particularly with local law enforcement, and really do an unashamed sort of plug for the ACSO services. We know that our local police forces are under great strain. We have neighbourhood beat coppers who have ridiculously large beats, and other officers can be redeployed anywhere within the forest, making the opportunity to get to learn their areas very challenging. Our ACSO service works closely with our police force, and they have really strong local knowledge, particularly to do with ASB issues. And I think this really, with partnership working, this should be a model of good practice that is talked about more widely. I was really disappointed to hear from a colleague just this week how their town council was dissuaded from looking at ACSO work. I can't believe that anyone would not understand the value that this has in communities. So I would hope, as part of this priority 2, that there would be very constructive work on exploring this and encouraging other communities to use ACSO services while we still have a depleted police force, with community police forces having vacancies and really struggling to get the bread and butter stuff done. Thank you, Chair.
I'm going to go to Steve Davis. Sorry, big mistake. For an answer.
This never gets confusing, does it, Steve? No. Yeah, thank you so much for those comments. I think I certainly note what you say, and as we move forward, I'll look again at ACSO and any impact they can have on our local communities.
Thank you.
Right, can I now take you to Sean Cullen, please?
The strategy aims to expand digital self-service for repairs and tenancy management. However, the local data shows that 67% of our tenants are aged 50 over and 46% 60 plus, with many reporting long-term ill health conditions or disabilities. What political oversight is in place to guarantee that the drive for digital efficiency doesn't marginalise these residents?
Can I go to Kirsty Farmer, please?
Thank you. Yeah, so as much as we're implementing a digital self-service, that will not be the only way of communication within the housing service. So we will keep open all of our channels with regards to face-to-face appointments, telephone communication, emails, etc. The digital element is just to enable those who can use digital technology to contact us easier than what they can do at the moment.
Thank you.
We have always maintained that stance, and we will continue to maintain that stance. Right, can I go to Councillor Peter Armstrong, please?
Thank you, Chair. Being on the Housing Committee now, which is great that we have a representative on that, I was talking to the tenant representative and he has real concerns about LGR. And in this meeting, I want to make sure that we are communicating with all residents as things are moving along, because he had a real concern about that with people and how they're feeling about it, and especially it relates to the water side again, which has got a lot, as we know, of council tenants. So just assurance that we are sending out regular information to all these tenants to keep them abreast of what is going on from that point of view. I'm glad to hear that we've got the inspection coming forward. Richard wasn't quite sure when we had the opposition briefing. The question I've got, and what I want to say is a big thanks to Richard, who was looking after the housing and did such a lot and still oversees a lot of it in his role of getting, all the things that he's put in to make it a better service over the years. How long before we get the results, if they're coming in October? Because this is critical for us moving forward with all LGR and the authorities who aren't as good as ours.
Right, 2 questions. First question, I'm going to go back to Sophie Sajek.
Thank you, Chair. Sophie Sajik, Strategic Director of Housing and Communities, I can probably answer both. So in the first instance, we really appreciate the change that local government reorganisation has to tenants. It is a change of their landlord, and I know that there are concerns. We speak with the tenant involvement group and a range of our tenants through a lot of our interactions, community hubs, community days on a very, very regular basis. We are already doing some communications around effectively what the change means in real terms, but we are enhancing our communications platform. As you'll probably be aware, we are still in the early stages about some of the key decisions of the political shadow authority, etc. So those communications will increase, and we're currently looking at enhancing those communications through things like newsletters. And again, as Councillor Cleary said, we've already been doing some work in terms of LGR presence at the New Forest Show, and this will continue as we go through the process, and we will continue to keep that open dialogue with our tenants and ensure that the voice and any concerns and also any aspirations that they have in terms of the future are fed into officers that are and members that make those key decisions. In terms of the regulator, the inspection is quite a long process, so we had notification this week. We start an early evidence collation, and a lot of the evidence we provide is desktop. It's about our performance, it's about our tenant satisfaction measures, which are really, really strong. It's about our policies, and then they come on site and they do an in-person inspection early October. We will then receive the published grading sometime in January. So it's quite a long process, but we will see an announcement that they're advising us mid to end of January next year.
Thank you. Anybody else from the floor? No? Can I then take you to the amended recommendation on page 1 of the supplemental agenda? And that actually says that Cabinet approves the housing landlord tenancy management strategy subject to any minor editorial amendments which are delegated to the Strategic Director, Housing and Communities. Cabinet, do you agree?
Yep, agreed.
Thank you. Right, item 8, Housing Revenue Account, Asset Management Strategy, 2026 to 2031. I'm going to take you to Councillor Steve Davis.
Really pleased to see it sent him as well.
I think I might actually speak. I think this is a well-written document and one that is certainly worth people reading and understanding. A lot of work's gone into this. I'm fully happy with its presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Sophie Tuffin, Service Manager, Housing Maintenance. Sophie.
Thank you. Yes, the strategy sets out a clear 5-year framework and an action plan of how we will manage, invest in our housing assets, ensuring homes remain safe. It's been developed using some key data, which include condition data on our homes, compliance information, servicing performance evidence, and also tenant insight. The strategy responds to the challenging operating environments, including stronger social housing regulation, building safety expectations, HRA cost pressures, and local government reorganisation. The action plan is key in turning those priorities into actions. And approving the strategy will give members, tenants and the regulator assurance that the council has a robust evidence-led approach to managing its homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. I'm going to take us to Councillor Steve Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. This was another opportunity for the Housing Panel to look at the asset management strategy. We questioned officers on investment priorities, asset disposal, redevelopment decisions, energy efficiency, and just those few subjects show you the breadth of the subjects that we have to consider on the Housing Panel. It's probably one of the most interesting of the three panels, if not the most interesting of the three panels, because it deals with people specifically. We've also had to consider how our governance arrangements and the impact on local government or organisation will be affected, and members sought assurance that investment decisions will continue to reflect local needs alongside the asset performance and long-term values. The officers have confirmed that the strategy is underpinned by robust evidence, and I think that's important for us all to remember that a good evidence base is always what we can rely upon. Sound financial planning, which of course this council has a long record of, and a commitment to maintaining safe, sustainable and good quality homes. The panel was reassured that the strategy provides a clear long-term framework for protecting and improving the council's housing stock while supporting a smooth transition into the new local government arrangements. And it cements the New Forest to commitment and investing in quality homes. Now, I know that you, Leader, and the portfolio officer and I myself have visited some of the various projects that we've had come into fruition in the area. And when you look at the quality of the properties that are being built, I think anybody would be delighted to be living in those properties. The portfolio holder sees more of those properties than I do, but I was happy to see the buildings that are taking place off the Gore Road in New Milton, although only partially completed. This is another really good, although a housing association project. We get the nomination rights to another set of absolutely outstanding properties, and they deliver value for tenants, and the scrutiny process helps us with that. And again, this is another area where we have the value of the co-opted tenant who helps to ensure that our strategy has been robustly challenged and informed by both governance and residents' perspectives. And I can assure Councillor Armstrong that we are aware of those concerns, as Sophie has pointed out as well, of the concerns of some of our tenants and what happens in the future. But policies that are being set now will go forward, will be carried forward into the new local authorities to give continuity and certainty to those residents for at least the foreseeable future. And how long the foreseeable future is always a piece of string, but certainly the next 2, 3, 4 years, these policies will direct the way in which we deliver our asset management. So I commend the report.
Thank you. Can I take us to Councillor Jeremy Heron, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Our housing stock and our policies that run it are a credit to everyone involved within it, as they do it. I was very keen when I was reading through this that we distill our asset management strategy down to 5 key points. Very good, very important, each one of them very important in delivering of the service. I would like to dwell on just one of them, and that is the 5th point, which is so important to us, the way we run the service and the ethos behind it. And that clearly states a strong tenant voice. And I am proud that that is what we deliver within our service, something that not only delivers for the people who need that service, the people who rely on it, and there are people who truly rely on that service to live a safe and secure life, but that through all of that, we do take that very much on board, that the tenant's voice is an important part when just guiding us through the principles that we work. And I just felt it was worth highlighting. Thank you.
Thank you. I will be forever proud of housing. As you know, it's very close to my
I didn't want to say that it was probably the previous portfolio holder that really put it in such a good position.
That was Edward, by the way.
The one before. Can I go to Sean Cullen, please?
The strategy establishes a review of the 1900 garages, 400 non-traditional homes, and will take place to assess condition viability, leading to clear recommendations on whether to invest, remodel, redevelop or dispose of them. These types of asset disposal often face intense local pushback. Will the Cabinet hold firm on evidence-based decisions?
We're going to go back to Sophie Tuffin, please.
Thank you. So we've done a lot on gathering good data to make those decisions. And again, that strong tenant voice within that strategy means that we don't need to do this behind closed doors. We are able to communicate through that strategy that we are undertaking that piece of work, and we'll work carefully with our residents through the TIG to make sure that we get that right.
Thank you.
And of course, I will be watching. Don't worry, I will be watching. Right, can I now take you to, again, an amended recommendation, which is on our separate paper, and that reads, 1, recommend to Council the approval of the Housing Strategy Account, Asset Management Strategy 2026 to 2031, subject to any minor editorial amendments which are delegated to the Strategic Director, Housing and Communities. 2, approve the progression of the draft Asset Management Action Plan, which is subject to annual review. Cabinet, do you agree?
Yes. Agreed.
Thank you. Item 9, Local Government Reorganisation, LGR Programme Mobilisation. I am going to take you to Matt Wisdom, Assistant Director, Strategy and Engagement.
Which took him by surprise.
Thank you, Leader. I'm probably short-lived at this position. It's a fairly straightforward item for Cabinet, but just to be clear about why it appears on your agenda this morning, at your meeting of the 3rd of June, you made recommendations to Council around appointments to the 2 future joint committees in respect of local government reorganisation, and the position at Council that was finally resolved differs to that the recommendations that Cabinet agreed. And clearly, as these joint committees are exercising both executive, i.e. Cabinet, and non-executive functions, i.e. Council, it's felt prudent just to circle back to Cabinet at today's meeting and seek your agreement to the final position that Council agreed at its meeting on the 13th of July. So those are your 2 recommendations, to note and further agree those final 2 resolutions passed by Cabinet. So that's the appointment of yourself, Councillor Jill Cleary, Leader, to the 2 joint committees, including any joint committees that might be held before the formal structural changes order comes into effect, and a delegation for you to make any appointments of deputy or substitute members. And that second recommendation around the Chief Executive, in consultation with the Leader, being delegated authority to agree terms of reference for those joint committees. Happy to answer any questions, but hopefully that's clear.
Thank you, Matt. Right, I don't need to read out the recommendations. Matt has very kindly done that for me. So, Cabinet, do you agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. Right, I declare this meeting is closed. Thank you to everybody who has come. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.